Join us for a review of the Porsche Taycan. Let's go! Very impressive front we can see here. It does have the Porsche DNA, but somehow has also a distinctive styling, especially here how the headlamps are cut in. 4-dot LED design. LED is also standard, the main headlamp unit, and optional you can get this one here, the LED matrix system. 4 meters 96, 16 foot 3 or 195 inches is the length here of the Porsche Taycan. 9 centimeters or 3.5 centimeters less than the Porsche Panamera. So this is not a small vehicle. You can see, by the way, these door handles, they are at the moment, let's say, opened, so they come towards you a little bit and then you can open them, and when you actually close the vehicle then they disappear completely. We already know that from the new 911. Charging ports, by the way, are available for both sides. Option another AC charging port here on the driver's side. We'll soon go into details of that. Well, then the wheels here, 20-inch today. Usually the Taycan 4S, which we have here today, so far the base version, starts with 19-inch wheels. An optional 20 would be standard for the Turbo, and 21 would be standard for the Turbo S. These are also the so-called aero wheels. You see, they are a little bit more closed, so they give you better wind efficiency. But they, in this case, also hide a little bit of the brakes, because you can get the PSCB and the PCCB. So both special brakes are available. The main charge port is here on the co-driver side. Open it like this. Then you have the standard 11 AC charger at maximum, or then DC charger. And battery side is either 79 or 93 kilowatt hours. Depends on the 4S, starts with a smaller one. But here we also have the performance pack. Then you also get the bigger battery in the 4S. Also very massive and impressive rear. The light strip goes all the way over the vehicle. Can be even seen here at daytime, but a little bit better, of course, at night. And one more technology feature I want to talk about here. There's one electric motor in the front and one electric motor in the rear, but the one in the rear has a 2-speed transmission. Actually, that's pretty rare with electric vehicles. Reason for that is that it's also then efficient at higher speeds. Well, and it will still be rear-wheel biased, of course, but the more you push the throttle, the more power will also come from that front motor. Well, and as for power figures and so on, let's take a calm moment right here. You start with the 4S, has 530 horsepower or a max peak of 571 horsepower in the performance pack. We also have it here today. You would start again with a smaller battery, 79 kilowatt hours, or go for the bigger battery, including the performance pack, 93 kilowatt hours. So this 4S here is about 100k euros or dollars. The performance pack is about 6.5k, so 6,500 euros or dollars extra. Then you get the bigger battery. I think most people would go for that. The bigger battery here, range-wise, I'll also talk about more that when we drive the car, but you can expect some 250 kilometers minimum to a maximum of 400 kilometers, and something in between as a realistic figure. Depends on winter or summer and how hard you push it. And that would be about 150 to 250 miles. So range-wise, it's not the king of the range. Yeah, that is left to the Tesla. This one here more about the driving dynamics. You'll see it soon while driving. Then there is the turbo. Of course, doesn't have to do anything with the turbo, but it's just called that way because they want to, have a comparison horsepower figure-wise. The turbo actually a little bit more powerful than the 680 horsepower. And 3.2 seconds is the acceleration, whereas in the 4S it's about 4 seconds. So that's a different 0.8 seconds, 2 more kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And then there's the Turbo S, 2.8 seconds, so less than 3 seconds in the acceleration figure, and 760 horsepower is the peak right there. Well, which one should you go for, considering that a Turbo S is about almost double the price than the 4S? It's quite obvious that probably the car we have here today, 4S, with the performance spec, with the bigger battery and the sustainable interior, that's probably the Taycan to go for, price performance and also practicability wise. This one is the crucial interior because that's the animal-free one, the vegan interior, so there are no animal materials in this exact version. And there are also different colors available. This one here is the gray one. There's also a bluish gray one available and the black one, so different colors, and also two-tone of that, so you can also mix it a little bit. On the inside you have some fabric, then you have some microfiber or Alcantara on the inside of the bolsters, and then some leatherette on the outside. And it's also very well sourced from recycled materials as well, and also 80% less CO2 output, so in any case more sustainable. And even the floor mats, they are, for example, also from recycled materials from old fishing nets, and also in the ground floor below that. Audi also used it in the A3, but they are also here, the Volkswagen Corporation started to use it for their more premium luxury cars. Really cool. Also the steering wheel here, in this case microfiber, you'll love it. It has a great grip, and if you think that it needs to be replaced at some point, well, there are certain ways to fresh it up, also microfiber material, and still you will just enjoy it every day, I can tell you. Then all digital cockpit, you can see here this curved display, soon more details to that. And then are also more screens on this interior, so all digitalized cockpit. But to me, this sustainable solution for the interior, of course, the most important thing about the Taycan interior. Now getting inside, how does it feel like? Does it feel like in a sports car? Well, it does feel low, definitely, but not too low. So a little bit higher than in a very low sports car, definitely, but a sporty atmosphere, no doubt about that. This is the closed top, but you can also get a fixed glass roof. That's also available here with a normal one. Just here, 1m86 or 6'1", but significant head room still. Now the interior overview, soft touch materials here, and a very beautiful clean layout. However, the high gloss black materials, I'm not so sure about that. So yeah, don't fancy this setup. I mean, yeah, maybe they should have gone for something else there, but the overall layout is really clean and cool, and the materials here are also soft, so there's really good processing. There is an additional screen available here for the co-driver, by the way, so what's not installed here in this vehicle. So let's focus on the main screens we have here today. So the left part here, curved display in 16.8 inch. Soon more deals to that. Then the central screen right here is 10.9 inch. And then there's this additional 8.4 inch. And this is a standard setup. Then again, the additional would be here, which would be mirroring this for the co-driver. So basically how it works, you control the screen in instruments like this here with your thumb, or switch between the three gauges. Then also here by clicking, just goes in one way, or like this going back, but back inside the menus each. Left side of steering wheel, for example, for the volume or for voice input. Driving mode selector on the steering wheel, that's quite handy. And so then I pick here which gauge I want to control, like this. So I start on the left part, and then For example, I can pick the all-wheel drive distribution here. That's a good choice. For example, in the middle part, you can go with the power meter or with the map. That's of course handy then for the GPS. However, also here's some options, but you can also go for the extended map. This is a cool function and really makes use of the digital instruments. Or when you're not focusing on GPS, then go with this. And on the right side, for example, here the driving modes, but also the sport chrono if you want to do some lap times, or then the small part of the navigation would also be possible, but it makes more sense in the middle and with the map, I guess. This, I think, more for the driving modes or then for media information from the CarPlay, for example. And then we have the central screen right there. Let's take a look at the CarPlay integration. Looks like this. Here we go. It's actually neatly done. Then we can go back to the Porsche menu, and important are these car settings. For example, we'll test the electronic sports sound with off or on. Which one will we like better? Recuperation can be set to on, off and auto. I'll explain that in the driving part. And also when I change the driving modes, it changes accordingly here, depending on what I set, like the range mode, the normal mode, Sport Plus, or you can also individualize everything right there. So now look here at the GPS, which also has the satellite view, but you can also deactivate it for a better overview. See, it takes some time, also depends on the web connection, but so far also quite nice. You can get along with this system. I've seen easier ones, I've seen more complicated ones, so the top part here is actually quite okay. So more details to the lower screen here. Yeah, again, as I said, here you can either click like this, but you really have to click. There's also haptical feedback. You can also tune up or down the volume, and then you can also slide a little bit, but yeah, sometimes it works better, sometimes not. I don't know. Really complicated to change the temperature. Seat heating is right here. You can also access here the current charge state, for example. Of course, always a classic here, this analog clock right in the center. And I mean, it's not really necessary, but always beautiful to look at. And here in the rear, also soft touch at the inside of the doors. Hardly any space at the inside of the doors, however. So, and then this actually does work very well legroom wise. So, even if I'm driving and there is this comfort feature for the driver that the front seat is going backwards when getting out of the car, and then when you hit the ignition, then it goes back again. So, but at the moment it's in the driving position. So, but legroom wise, no problem. Headroom wise, it does work when I leave my lumbar, my spine all the way, relaxed. But when I put my spine upright, then I do slightly hit my head. But I mean, you can sit here in a relaxed way with 4 tall adults. That is actually possible. And the front trunk looks like this. It's of course secured here, so you have to use this one here, and then there's, for example, storage for your charging cable. You can have this box or this bag, very heavy, but also some more space as an alternative to put a backpack in or something. So the rear trunk area is opened down there, and then you have 330 liters in the back. And when I just put the cabin trolley right here in, you see it does hardly work in a vertical way, but it does fit, so that's actually okay. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, active driving lounge with the PorscheTaycan 4S today. We'll turn on the electric sports sound because I just want to test it, how it sounds like when we accelerate with this artificial sound then. Let's see how that working goes. And we'll also put it in the Sports Plus mode to get the best acceleration, stiffer chassis or stiffer suspension. And also the car is lowering then just a little bit. And we'll accelerate from 30 kilometers an hour and just go all the way through. Let's go. Plop, that's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles per hour, and that was quick. Wow. I mean, I should give a small replay, not from the action cam, but actually from the main camera, of how my head was pushed backwards at the first acceleration. This is the difference in here with the electric vehicle. And I mean, wow, how silent is it in here? I mean, there's no engine sound that's overlaying something, but the insulation is so superb, 200 kilometers an hour. And look at that lane change, how stable the car is, incredible. Now, on the brakes, very well to control, really nice, of course. Now gaining back some energy, whereas with the ICE cars, there wouldn't be any energy to gain back. Wow, this is here longer than the 911, a little bit shorter than the Panamera. But the PorscheTaycan, I mean, has the ultimate flawless driving feeling, I have to say. Look at that. I mean, just a little bit overtaking on the right, brakes, go to the left again. It's such a heavy vehicle due to the battery. It's not a short vehicle. But due to the good suspension, air suspension, comfort and sportiness at the same time, then the anti-roll control, and the rear axle steering, which is a great thing, you know, giving you more agility, rear axle in the opposite direction of the front wheels at lower speeds, higher speeds, parallel them to give you more stability. This car feels so agile and it feels so much smaller than it actually is. And that's, I think, to me, one of the most astonishing things about this vehicle. You know, when you drive it normally, it feels like between 911 and Panamera. But when you attack it really, when you drive it very sporty, when you push it around the corners, you might expect, oh, that weight from the battery, that, you know, might be not so good for the vehicle. It might appear heavier than it actually is, but I can tell you, the faster you move this car, the more it feels even more agile than a 911. You know, at some point you rather have the impression, wait a minute, am I in a 718 and not in a 911? So that's really cool. So to me, probably one of the best things about this car, it feels smaller and more agile than it actually is. And that shows again, for sports cars, having the battery and putting it really low for the lower center of gravity is just a great idea. It really plays in the favor of sports cars. Now starting from 80 kilometers and going all the way through. 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles per hour. Once again, wow. And so stable here, high-speed corner. But you realized that was again the electric sports zone because it is automatically on in the Sports Plus mode. So that car was cheating on us. So let's go back to the sports mode. Oh well, let's do Sports Plus, and then I deactivate it. But you see, that's, I mean, really not good to do that while driving. Totally not. So that's now 120 kilometers an hour, and let's accelerate it out without the sports sound. That's 180. Well, and now driving up the hill, sports mode. Let's see how agile that thing is in the corners. Again, this flawless acceleration, you hardly notice how fast you are. Low center of gravity, PTCC, the anti-roll control. I mean, this car is keeping upright all the time. It's not leaning to the sides at all. At the same time, the air suspension doesn't make it too rough. I really like that. So you have indeed a good compromise between comfort and sportiness. And you guys maybe remember we've driven the same track here with the 911 Turbo S. The 911 Turbo S, of course, feels more extreme. You know, you also have the sound and it's a little stiffer from the whole setup. But I can tell you, this one here doesn't feel less agile, and in a way, maybe even more. I mean, acceleration is always there instantaneously. It's even more flawless than in 911 Turbo S, I have to say. Wow. And this, you know, this low center of gravity is really hooking me into the ground. Perfect control all the time. A little bit slower here on the road. Just a little respect. I mean, I don't have like a sick sound today, but still. Wow. This is really amazing. Wow. So again, best rating for agility, and this car is almost 5 meters long, and probably at this size, at this segment, the most agile car I've driven, like feeling wise, again in this very segment if you look at that size. And now to our conclusion for today with the Porsche Taycan 4S. Well, the all-electric Porsche here, does it work? Yeah, definitely. It's a true Porsche. It has the true Porsche feeling. Maybe when you really push it, a little bit like a 718 because of the lower center of gravity and this extreme sportiness they mastered here. But at the same time, it's very comfortable. To me, actually a better drive than the 911 and also a better drive than the Panamera. Although it's almost the same length than the Panamera. It will make no sense if you make long commutes, long range and so on with it. Don't trust in it to have a high range. In winter it will drop down, and when you push the throttle really hard it will drop down significantly. It's no match to a Tesla range-wise, but it is so agile and so well executed in the driving that in this respect then it does beat the Teslas. You feel really one with the vehicle, although it's not a short one and it's not a small one. And that's to me one of the most astonishing things about the car. The interior is very well executed, especially in this trim here, the animal-friendly one, the sustainable one. Finally Porsche is going on that way, and you can do something as a customer, you know. You can go for a high-class premium vehicle and still decide not to pay money to industries that harm people, animals and the environment, and really go more sustainable in a more animal-friendly way. That's a very, very important step they've taken here. And also just for more practical reasons, you should take this interior. It's also better climate-wise. Again, the driving experience is really, really cool. I can just recommend it. And what a great boost from the electric power, and electric drive and sports cars. It's really making sense. And another thing to criticize is for sure the infotainment input, the control input, which is really complicated and not user-friendly. I think they really have to work on that one to get an easier solution, especially for the climate input. Well, but overall, a very impressive ride, and that's where the future is going at Porsche, and I think it's actually a good one. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Please leave us your comments and also tune into other Taycan reviews or maybe some other Porsche reviews, 911, 718 and so on. See you there.